Okay, good morning, everybody. I want to pull up real quick from Healthy Mind and Body what it says in the first paragraph. I just want to start with that and then share a couple thoughts I have around that. I was reading 5 Levels of Leadership yesterday and just came across some really good stuff that I want to share that goes hand in hand with what we're doing. You know, my reason for wanting to do Healthy Mind and Body this time is that I want to take my leadership level to the next level and be that 4th and working towards 5th level leadership, but really be at a high 4th level leader. And so that's going to take me focusing and spending time and actions in ways that I haven't been doing. So anytime I want to take on a new concept of myself, then I start to picture what that looks like. I start to run the scenarios through my mind of what I think that looks like. And I get some good ideas of what, you know, the next level leader is going to look like, because there's plenty of examples out there in the world. I've read plenty of things about great leaders, and there's a lot of great leaders in isogenics. And so I can start to get a perception of what that concept of the new me looks like when it comes to being a leader. And then I can read a book, you know, like the 5 Levels of Leadership, and he goes over and talks about what are some of the characteristics of, you know, a 4th level leader, a 5th level leader. And I start to internalize these things as I'm reading them. And I'm internalizing them as though they're talking about my personality traits, not something outside of me. And that's a big difference. I think a lot of people have a hard time reading those things and internalizing them as though they already possess them. Like, if that's going to be the concept of me, I have to be internalizing those and reading those as though that's me already. And I want to find the least resistance I can to that path. Like, for me, becoming a 4th level leader, I want to take the path of least resistance, and which means I'm not going to put up any of my own barriers and roadblocks. I'm not going to think about the past and how I haven't been a leader like that, because that's not going to serve me. I would be out of the flow in doing that. And so I'm going to read these new concepts and start to form them up and frame them up on what they look like for me as an isogenics leader. Because in the book, that, you know, 5 Levels Leader, he's not talking about isogenics. He's talking about a leader in general. And so I got to take those generalities and start to make that a part of my story and a part of who I'm being. And again, I'm going to take the path of least resistance. Some people like to resist that. They think, oh yeah, but you know what? I can't be a leader like that because I did this, this, and this last week or yesterday. And so that's resisting it. I remove those roadblocks by not resisting taking on that new concept of myself, right? And it could be a habit that's causing us. And I think I've developed the habit of that path of least resistance over the last 13 years because of my commitment to the law of attraction and the law of assumption, assuming it as though it's already so. So I've learned how to discipline my mind to immediately start to embrace what that new leader looks like. Now, as I'm starting to embrace it, there's going to be, you know, things that are going on in my life that are still the old paradigm. But I'm not going to pay those attention and say, see, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't as good as that leader or this leader or whatever. I'm just going to, like, it's when you fall down, you get right back up, like a child trying to learn to ride a bike. When I was on the motocross track, I did the same thing. When I crashed, I just got right back up and didn't think about the crash. I thought about the path of least resistance. I'm going to be on the podium, right? So that's a constant thing that we have to do. And so watch and see if you're resisting taking on those new concepts that you have for yourself as you're learning about the personality traits of them. So I'm going to gather as much information as I can so I really form up a very solid, a very accurate description of what it's like to be a 4th level leader. So I'm going to begin the gathering stage. And as I'm in the gathering stage, I'm going to start taking on that personality without resisting it. Okay. So let me just read what he says here I'm on day 22. We prepare you for deception or resistance as much as possible. Although we can't possibly know what it will look like, how you're going to respond, and how long it's going to last, we can tell you that this program is going to be here for you every day to help you get through it. See, they can't possibly know what this resistance is going to look like for me, because I have my own experiences of life. I have my own philosophy. I have my own governing guidance system. And then they don't know what I'm taking on to replace that old system. What's the new system? And there is no way they could ever know what that's going to be like when I strive to internalize that new one based on what my old one is. They just know I'm going to hit it. Now, they don't know how I'm going to respond. I'm going to completely respond differently than somebody who's just doing this for the first time. I've been doing this for 13 years. And it's still, there's deception. There's still like, it takes mental fortitude and a continual intestinal fortitude to continually be rolling the ball uphill, like I'm pushing the ball uphill. The moment I stop pushing the ball uphill, the moment I stop taking on that new concept of myself, that ball is rolling backwards because of my subconscious. So if I'm not pushing that ball up the hill all the time, which is I'm running those experiences through my head, I'm framing that up. What do I look like now? How do I feel now that I'm a fourth level leader at a high level? And if I'm not pushing that ball up, then it's going down. If I'm not consciously pushing it up, it's going backwards because of my subconscious and my habits. So, Charles, you have to be ready to take life on this level if you really want to, change and really change. Charles Handel said it's the hardest thing you'll ever undertake to do. It's even harder than running a country, continually running your own mind. But that's the level that you have to do it at. And so how long? And so that's why the why really matters. How bad do I really want to be a fourth level leader? When I get tired, do I just come up with a good excuse and then I don't go back to rolling the ball up the hill? Or a week later, I get tired of being tired of where I'm at, and so I start rolling the ball uphill again. And then as soon as something comes along, deception hits me and I stop rolling the ball and it rolls backwards for a week and a half this time, or maybe 6 months. And I fall into the rut dweller, which the rut dweller I wrote down from the other day. I'm too busy. I have so much to do every day. My job, my children, my husband, my studies. But I'm going to stick with it because if I don't, I'll have failed. But right now, my husband or my spouse is more important than me, overcoming this resistance that I'm feeling. It's just an excuse, right? So how long is that going to last? The moment you get to where you're pushing that ball uphill, I would say more than 50% of the time, you're going to start seeing some changes. You get up to 75, 80, 90% of the time, you're going to see some quantum leap changes. So sometimes the bigger the goal or vision, the greater the deception period may last. And in turn, the more meaningful and rewarding it can be when you overcome it. And Steve Jobs says you really got to have a good why, something that's going to drive you so that you don't tire out. Because pushing that ball up the hill can really tire you out. So let me share a couple of things from what I read in the 5 Levels of Leadership. And he says, no one can fake level 3. Either you're producing for the organization and adding to its bottom line, whatever that may be, or you're not. Okay. Level 3 is that production level, which I believe you could be platinum on production level. You would be maxed out center, 13,500 a week when you're at a high level 3. Level 4 is where you're going to be turning out platinum income earners again and again and again and again. As a leader, you're going to be turning out platinum income leaders. So let me say it again. No one can fake level 3. Either you're producing for the organization and adding to its bottom line, whatever that may be, or you're not. So is my actions increasing the bottom line? Is it holding out an example for other people? These are questions I've got to ask myself, right? If I want to be a level 3 leader. And I either am or I'm not. So that means I'm doing three-way calls for my team. I'm presenting, I'm sharing the message for them in behalf of their people and behalf of them. I'm inspiring my team. I'm there for them when they, when they need me to talk to their people, to mentor them, to coach them. That's what a third level leader does. They're going to get production out of other people. The outstanding leaders of every age are those who set up their own quotas and constantly exceed them. They're not expecting the team to meet the quotas. They're setting up the quotas, and they're going out to do whatever it takes to reach that bottom line, to reach that quota. If I have to get into more action, I'll get into more action because I want to reach that quota that I set for myself. An outstanding leader of every age are those who set up their own quotas and then constantly exceed them. And then another benefit of leadership on level 3 is that it attracts other highly productive people. And that's why it's so important that you do those things. Leaders go first. Speed of the leader, speed of the pack, Kathy Coover says. Right? If I want to get great results from healthy mind and body with how I look and how I feel, then I better be the billboard. If I want those kinds of people on my team. Because then like attracts like. You'll start to attract other people because you're the leader for that person. You're going to give them the tools. And some people you'll be able to lead very easily because you attracted those people. If you're not being the leader, if you're not being the billboard, if you're not setting your own quotas and exceeding them, then more than likely you're finding people who are at the same level you are and they're having a difficult time making the products work for them. They come up with the excuses. They stop and start. Okay, so leaders go first. Leaders can get to level 1 for almost endless number of reasons. Level 1 is title, position, right? They show promise. They have connections. They play politics. They have seniority. The organization is desperate. You name it. So it's easy to become a level 1 leader. And that would be an associate in isogenics. And someone has probably received a leadership position because of it. If you paid your $29 for your membership, you're a leader. Leaders who are naturally good with people or who take the pains to learn people skills and move up to level 2, but some people never move up from level 2 permission to level 3 production. And this is where I'm working on in mentoring. I'm going to become a better leader to produce more production leaders, high level 3 production leaders. And he says, why do some people never get to level 3 production? Why? They can't seem to produce results. When that is the case, it's usually because they lack the self-discipline, work ethic, organization, or skills to be productive. However, if you desire to go to higher levels of leadership, you simply have to produce. There's no other way around it. And I made some notes around that I'm not really going to go through right now. But it's just really about committing. It's about finding a very powerful internal driving mechanism that's going to get you to be more than you are today. Pushing that ball up the hill continually, it could be fatiguing, but that's just because that's how it is in the beginning. When you start to develop the muscle, it starts to become habitual, just like your other way of being habitual did. But it's much more rewarding going up the hill than staying in the middle of the hill or going down or barely going up and then going back. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. So I'm grateful for, the healthy mind and body in helping me to evaluate every day. What did I do that was great? What am I pointing out that I'm grateful for in the interactions that I had today and yesterday? And how am I setting up today's mindset to be that level 4 leader that I want to be? What's on my schedule today, right? And it really holds you to a high level of accountability when you really do frame up your morning around the healthy mind and body, so that if you keep coming up with excuses, and holding yourself back, you won't be checking in every day for very long. And Rod Harrison says that most people don't make it to like day 4. Or whatever it was in the healthy mind and body. But you could fake it. You could be the pretender and not really changing your behavior. I don't know how you could come into Healthy Mind and Body and playing at 100% and your behavior not change, which means your results aren't going to change unless you were being a pretender, right? And it's time to, there's times when I've been a pretender, right? And I'm just as guilty of that as anybody. So I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just really evaluating myself out loud here with you guys. And I'm not going to have any of that. I'm not going to allow myself to be a pretender, even though, my natural man wants to be a pretender. So with that, I'll just open it up, and whoever wants to go next.
Hey, Dave.
Hey.
Thank you for reading that day 22. That's probably one of the best quotes of the program, because it prepares you for I'm going to read that again. We prepare you for deception or resistance as much as possible, although we can't possibly know what it will look like, how you're going to respond, and how long it's going to last. We can tell you that this program is going to be here for you every day to help you through it. Sometimes this is the part that stuck with me. Sometimes the bigger goal or vision, the greater the deception period may last, and in turn, the more meaningful and rewarding it can be when you overcome it. And that's the catch-22 of going higher in the company. Is everybody goes through a deception phase. No one's exempt, right? So if you're planning on going deeper to level 4 leadership, that's going to involve deception, and that's kind of where I was last week. I was realizing, okay, I pretty well got 2-star nailed now. I'm able to do 20 cycles. I'm able to duplicate 20 cycles. So now I'm in what they call the Bermuda Triangle of the program, going from 2-star to 3-star. That's a stretch. If I were to stay in deception, I could be saying, well, 3-star might be for others. I'll come close, but I'll struggle to make it. After all, 2 to 3-star is, the Bermuda Triangle, right? Or I could decide to frame it as, I'm so grateful to be on the path to 3-star because what I'm becoming in getting there, right? I can be grateful for the journey. I can be a happy warrior in the midst of the deception. That's a choice too. And for me, what it comes down to is gratitude. If I'm grateful for feeling the deception because it's taking me where I want to be, then I'm systematically dealing with the deception phase in the process of getting to where I want to go.
Celebrate deception. That's what they keep saying, right?
Right. And when bigger things go wrong, as they did, last week, I don't have to dwell on it. And of course, one of the things in that section, there's a gratitude section. And when I did that this morning, it asked, what are you most grateful for? And it looked like one of my sides, it looked like it was starting to blow out. Now I realized that's not going to last, but it looked like I was accumulating, volume on one side that was overwhelming the other side. And I realized that's not going to last. That probably, and it didn't actually. When I did my, I woke up at 1:30 this morning and did my Healthy Mind and Body, and then I went back to sleep for a couple hours. When I woke back up, the other line had caught up. So, but that was still cool. But the gratitude attitude that I wrote down is, first of all, to thank others. And I'm so grateful, like, after something went wrong last week, I was kind of starting to marinate in it, you know, kind of like, oh, well, that's just like me. I make mistakes and then I blow everything, right? I self-sabotage myself. And it was so cool to have people to call. You know, I was able to call Cindy, but and then I was also able to call you, and kind of unpack the whole thing. And rather than denying what I was feeling about what had happened, to be able to unpack it with a veteran, and then have you encourage me. Okay, we got that out of the way. Let's not dwell on that, right? Because I could allow shame and guilt to keep me stuck, right? I could go into the rut, and I've got feelings that will hold me in the rut, right?
Yep.
Instead of saying, no, wait a minute. Some days I win and some days I learn. And that happened to be a day when I had a win, but then had a big learning experience at the end of that win, right?
Yeah.
And then I realized, okay, so what that means is my primary character defects haven't gone away, right? They're still there. I still have character defects that pull me back, right? But I've got a strategy for dealing with those character defects.
Right.
And Healthy Mind and Body is part of that. But I actually started the gratitude thing again. I started the gratitude book this morning. And you know, it was funny. I was looking around my library for a journal, because I needed, you know, you have to journal when you do the magic book, right? And I pulled out an old journal, and I opened it up, and the page that I opened it up to had a passage from 8 years ago about a person that was mad at me 8 years ago that's mad at me now. And I thought, okay, that's a pattern, right? That's a pattern, you know, and I can engage in the pattern, or I can step away from it and not be attached to it. And I love the fact that you modeled that for me. You weren't getting attached to all the drama. You were just looking at it objectively and saying, okay, here's what we do to step out of that, right? Yeah. And not getting attached into the emotions and the soap opera, but just say, no, as a business leader, here's what we do. And that's really modeling level 4 behavior. That's where you're helping somebody who doesn't want to be stuck and is making a commitment not to be stuck, to step beyond the deception phase, or walk through the deception phase. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily go away. The feelings didn't necessarily go away. It's just that, okay, I'm going to feel bad for a while. I don't know how long, but I have a strategy, and eventually I'm going to step away from that. Yeah.
I'm getting chills. They lasted like for 30 seconds because I can do that for myself, but I want to help other people. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's not talking them off the ledge, because they're not on a ledge. They're actually on a beautiful vista, but the vista above this one looks a lot better. Right. And so 3-star vista looks a lot better than 2-star vista. Well, platinum vista is the one I want to get people to, not get them to. I want to help and be in that journey with them, because in order to get there, you've got to have a mentor that's going to help you get there. And that's what this whole environment is about. And so here's that pattern, right? So when we respond, it says that because deception is unique to each person. And each person is saying to themselves, yeah, but my challenges are different than everyone else's. No one has the same challenges as I do. They don't have it as hard as I do. We don't say it like that, but we rationalize it like that through different scenarios we play in our head, and which then gives us permission to stop pushing the ball up the hill. And so I love how you brought that up and about celebrating deception and responding. So when we look at the cycles and the legs are now still even, you going into gratitude for that rather than saying, which the old paradigm is, dang it, when is this going to blow out a leg? I'm working so hard. We catch ourselves and we become grateful. I remember Lenny saying, I didn't become a millionaire and then became grateful. I'm a millionaire because I was grateful before because I'm grateful, I'm a millionaire. So it was being grateful before he got to the millionaire status. So the blown out leg, you have to be thankful for what you have. And then in the book, The Science of Getting Rich, it says when you show gratitude for that thing, more will come to you. God will bless you with more of that. You can't give the expenditure of force of gratitude without it being reciprocated back to you with more of that which you're grateful for. So if you're not grateful for those 20 cycles, you will never get to where you're going to be at the 40 cycles. And it's catching ourselves when we say, dang, I thought we were on the track to this momentum in one leg, and having that maxed out leg. It's catching yourself as quickly as you can, because that's going to come up. But it's how do I handle that and turn it around and then start feeding the gratitude. So I'm glad to hear that you recognized I've got to have gratitude in that moment every time I open my back office. No matter what those cycles are, you've got to feel it and not have that inner subconscious feeling of dang, because that's the one that's attracting to you, not the conscious one of, okay, I'm going to be grateful for having 20 cycles, but inwardly you're feeling, dang, don't look in the back office anymore. That's a good way to avoid that feeling, right?
Yeah.
And expecting something that isn't going to be there, and then your expectation is that letdown. Write it down. I'm so happy and grateful that I'm cycling over 20 times a week now. Without even looking in your back office, go there mentally and open your back office and say, I'm so grateful for that. And then we do have to check into our back office. It's our business. We have to make sure everything's like on time and everything's organized, as far as, the BV and what you're ordering and staying at executive. But you got to be very, very careful. You got to be extra diligent every time you open that back office to not go to the subconscious, dang, right? Because that's the pattern. That's keeping us 8 years later still experiencing the same thing. But you're getting past that, though. You're doing the work, Malcolm, and it's exciting to see you be transparent and grateful. Yeah. And in that transparency, that's part of overcoming and recognizing that deception. So that's awesome.
I did in the day 21 under mindset goal, I rewrote the mindset dialogue. I didn't quite like it. It said to not engage in negative gossip, but instead help others to focus on the positive. I wrote instead to be such a powerful example of positive thinking that I become a role model to those around me.
Much more.
I'm such a powerful example of positive thinking. I rewrote that, and that's level 4. And the reality is, my affirmation is to have platinum income earners on left and right. Okay, that's to me, that's the ultimate I'm going for right now, is platinum income earners on either leg. Okay, and that involves level 4 activity. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. High five through the screen, because that is so awesome. So awesome. Taking the negative first is not a good thing. I'm going to avoid the negative conversations. You totally caught it. And that's like me doing presentations. People say, well, I could never present isogenesis like you, Dave. Well, I couldn't present isogenesis like I do now 7 years ago. It's been that refining process that you just articulated. you saw the next vibration up because you created the first vibration. You would have never saw the second one had you not done the first one. You could never present like Dave if you don't start now and start having those little ahas where you refine each slide in what you're going to say, just like you did. That's how it works, you guys. But you're only going to move that and increase that quickly the more you hold yourself accountable on a high level and you're working at it every day. You could have that progression swing way up and go into critical mass really fast. Or you can do a presentation once every 3 months and not have any ahas come to you like they did just with Malcolm. And so every time you start the presentation, you walk away feeling like you sucked at it, right? Rather than recognizing, oh, here's a little better way to say it because this is the third time I've done it now, and it just revealed itself to me how to say it a little better. And you're doing that with your affirmations. I do that with my affirmations all the time. I'm always rewriting them because a better way makes itself present, makes itself
well. And Lenny did stage 4 or level 4 mentoring with you, right? He would catch you in your language.
Yeah.
And now what you're doing is you're catching yourself. Mm-hmm. Very important. You're self-parenting yourself.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And it was that level 4 mentoring in the beginning that gave me this ability, right? Yeah. Okay, awesome share. This is a real mastermind, you guys, because there are some valuable pearls that are coming out here that you need to start adopting. You get to choose whether or not you want to start adopting those into your behavior. And you're going to write them down and push the ball up the hill and catch yourself every time you're not pushing the ball up the hill and get to pushing the ball back up the hill. Okay.
So you cut yourself right there.
Yeah. Good.
You cut yourself saying need.
Yeah.
And that's not the
word level 4 leader.
Exactly. The second mindset goal, what Rod wrote was to recognize, and I changed that from to recognize to I recognize when deception is clouding my mindset vision. And then he went on to write, working to immediately shift. And I said, I immediately shift my mindset to a positive place. You just did that. Mm-hmm. You cut yourself. Mm-hmm. And you didn't think about that. That was muscle memory.
Yeah.
That was immediate. You did not think, oh, wait a minute, I've got to turn around that need word. You caught yourself and immediately changed it. Okay. Yeah. It's become a habit. It's become part of you.
The ball rolled down for just like a split second, but I was able to push that ball back up the hill again. Right. That's the place we should be choosing to get to. Right.
Mm-hmm. I love all this, you guys. Like you said, there's so many tidbits in there that you're talking about, and I just think it is amazing to watch even the leaders, and it just is so much more of a learning experience when we see you guys being so transparent and sharing different things. And Malcolm, I have known you for so many years, and I am so incredibly proud of the man that you are becoming. And just seeing you falling under the mentorship, and even Dave, it's like, Dave, you're being mentored, every single day, even with yourself, like yourself is mentoring yourself along, just because you're reading so much and setting the example and talking to each one of us of what we need to do. But I believe that what happens in life is meant to happen, and because if what happened didn't happen to Malcolm, you would not have developed even a better character. Like, you are being chipped away to become that diamond that you are already. But it's just being chipped away and refined even more. And so I'm sure you realize that what happened had to happen. Like, it was meant to happen so that you can become even better than you are. There was a quote, life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. Chuck Swindoll said that. So isn't that the truth? How are we going to react to different things? And that's where a lot of times we find ourselves, that deception coming in when things happen to us. And so the quicker that we recognize it and can change how we react to it, even if it's already starting down that road of deception, is what I find happens to me. it's so great, like Dave, you were saying, and Malcolm, that you can recognize it so much quicker now because we're going through this and we're learning how to change that. It happened to me in church, getting a text yesterday morning from a customer that I almost signed up the night before, but she needed overnight, to do some research, and she didn't pay attention to the research I sent her. And so I went through this because it was somebody who I really cared about. It's a little different than just a no that's out there in the world, somebody that you've been working on for a long time that's a good friend. And so I found myself through the day, what did I do wrong? How could I have done something different to change the outcome? And I know it had to do with my mindset because it's part of the law of attraction. So I started going back and replaying what has been going through my mind in the last 24, 48 hours to cause this response. You know what I'm saying? Because of what I've been learning. So even as Gary and I were out hiking yesterday, I kept finding all this deception playing through my mind and my energy. I stopped one time, like, wow, usually I have a lot of energy. But for some reason, my energy was low. And so you have to recognize, in part of the Healthy Mind and Body, it says every physical habit is preceded by an emotional habit. And so what emotions come before your highs and low energy time? You guys remember that? So I had to start thinking about it, and it just all boils down to, what are you thinking? What are you telling yourself? So immediately I started talking out loud to Gary. I'm grateful for this. Yeah, I'm grateful for this. And there's so many things that we were thinking about, that you could be ungrateful for, situations or things happening in your life or people doing this or saying this. But you just have to get out of that mindset and we just started talking about what we're grateful for. Yeah, but not just saying it. The key that I have learned is feeling it. So inside, you have to start actually getting those goosebumps that Dave MacArthur talked about. Getting excited, like feeling it from your toes, working all the way up to the top. And if you get yourself in that state of feeling excited, it was amazing to see the energy start to come back, and then playing that song in my mind, this girl is on fire, and feeling that feeling of walking across the stage, being recognized, as one of the top leaders, by John and Kathy Coover, with my husband at my side, fully retired, and thinking that. So every day when I'm going through the house, when I'm outside, whatever, I'm so happy and grateful that my husband is retired and home with me, and we're building this together. We're planning our trip to, Tahiti, where it might be together, along with our friends. Anyway, that's just what I wanted to share today, that mindset and just really putting yourself there, getting out of deception quickly is very important.
Yeah. I think you recognize something there too. When you're sharing with somebody that you especially love, it takes you to a different place in your mind, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Internalizing things and maybe, exploring that a little bit more. And why is it that I feel that way? Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
think it was because I think for me, it was almost like a hit as, why don't you trust me? I'm your good friend. Why are you, did you not listen to the video that I sent you? Did you not hear what I said? Did you not watch my presentation last week when I was in Porterville?
Those questions don't serve you, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah. And, for me, what comes to mind, so I'm thinking, okay, how does Cindy's experience, how do I take that and apply that to me? Like, I need to do a little introspection right now, maybe do a little inventory. Is there something there too that, am I on the right track? Am I not on the right track? What would I be thinking in a situation like that? And then I get to check in with myself. Am I doing something that's serving me in that kind of situation? Or how have I overcome that? And what is my thought process? Because they're going to be different, right? If I'm getting different results, they have to be different. So how do I come up with a self-talk, and what's my philosophy that's going to guide me in a situation like that? It's either going to be empowering for me or it's going to be disempowering. Because there's people that I love as well that I hold a special love for, right? And so how am I going to respond in a situation, or how do I respond? And I did my little inventory, you guys, And so you can start to draw these contrasts within yourself. And am I in the right place with that? Or is that something that I need to write down and that I need to check myself on, right? And then how do I discover a more empowering way of responding to that rather than reacting so that I don't go to that place? Because that scenario will keep showing up and you'll keep responding to it the same way, only you won't recognize it because it'll be a different face. It'll be a different experience. It'll be a different circumstance. But the way that you're responding to it is the same, even though it's a different face, a different circumstance. And you can start to draw those you can start to come to a greater awareness that that's a pattern that's been following me my whole life. And now I get an opportunity to expose it in this one scenario. But this one scenario has a whole bunch of other faces in my life. But you don't recognize that and you're not aware of it until you become aware of it in the one scenario. Does that make sense? This is a powerful moment for all of us.
Yes, it does. Yeah, so I need to really think, what you're saying is I need to think about what causes me or what is that pattern that makes me feel that way.
Yes.
Whenever somebody I really love and care about.
That's not an isolated case.
Right. No.
That same thing is happening in other scenarios that are unrelated to people you say, well, they're rejecting me with isogenics, especially that I love them, right? That same thing is popping up in other areas of your life. It has to. That's a governing, guiding response. Mm-hmm. And right now it's habitual. And that's a paradigm. And it's not that makes you a lesser person. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own paradigm that needs to be evolved, or that they should be choosing to evolve to get better results. And that's a scenario that pointed out to you, I just did something that didn't serve me. Now let's explore that a little bit more, and how is that showing up in other areas of my life that I'm not even aware of that they showed up. Mm-hmm. And once you start to do that, it's like with the needing versus choosing, you'll start to catch yourself in an area where that pops up because you're more familiar with it right now. You're dissecting it with this one scenario. You'll start to see it in other areas.
Right.
And once you start to see it in those other areas, now you have the opportunity to choose intelligently and consciously, rather than letting that subconscious dictate to you how to do that. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
But that takes some critical thinking, and it's saying, what's wrong with me? Most people don't go into life saying, okay, what's wrong with me? We're looking for what's wrong with everybody else. That person rejected me. How could they do that? When really it's about what's going on inside you. All she did was just reveal to you your own weakness.
Ooh.
Right?
Yep.
Children will do that for us too. I remember some yogi or some guru said, you should name your child teacher, because it's not about them. It's about what they're revealing to you about the different scenarios that show up in your life and how you're not responding to them in a way that is serving you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. Can I go? Just
Yep.
real little thing. Yeah, I always said more is caught than taught with our kids. So it is definitely a mirror effect.
Yeah.
Just a small thing, but to me it was a big thing. It was my perception of myself and how my mindset has changed. I have a new neighbor, and when I meet somebody, they typically give you their resume. I do this and this, and I'm that, and that in the past has intimidated me a little bit. So when my neighbor revealed to me who she was and the things she did and her accomplished life a little bit, I didn't step back from that at all, because I just felt I have a lot to offer this new friend across the street that, it wasn't, I didn't feel less than, is what I'm saying, I guess. So for me, that was a big thing this week, that I'm like, well, I have a lot to offer you, and we can start with this and that. And I actually did the UIA thing where I just hugged her, and like she was my new best friend I hadn't seen in 20 years. Like, oh my gosh, you're Wendy! Oh my gosh! Jesus, totally responded. But it was kind of fun. But for me personally, to not, to just be more truthful about who I am and becoming, and that I have a lot to offer others, was a good place to be.
Yes. Yeah. High five. That's that confidence, right? In that power pose in that moment.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Great job. That's a huge, I mean, that's because you might walk away thinking something that doesn't serve you.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else?
I wanted to share really fast. This last little while I know I've been in like major deception mode, but I feel like my deception is trying to deceive my deception. Like I know I'm in it, and I've been in this funk. And like, I mean, I've been really consistent for a long while. Like I get up at like 4:30, I go to the gym, I come home, I mean, I do my me time and my things like that. And I always, when I catch myself in a negative thought, I'll either start to like hum a tune or something and just try and change where I'm at. But lately I've totally, the last week and a half, I've totally, like, I haven't been working out. I got sick and I've got a cold sore and I've just been down. And the whole time I've been like, what is your deal? What is your deal? And so it's kind of like, I think the thing is I just need to keep going instead of allowing it to keep me frozen in this, what's wrong with you? Like, you're not doing the things you know are supposed to be good for you and the things that are going to get you where you're going. Like, holy crap. Like, I don't know. So anyway, I was really thankful for this call because I kid you not, it's been like the hardest 2 weeks I've had in a really long time. Just knowing I'm not fully committed, and even like doing my healthy mind and body. Like when Dave, you said are you a pretender? I was like, holy crap, I'm totally there because I'm doing my healthy mind and body. And I'm like, how is this going to do anything for me? Like, what is like, and so I'm like, anyway, so I know I'm totally in this. My subconscious must be fighting me really, really hard. And a friend of mine said, I know when I have great things coming to me because I am challenged the most. And anyway, so I just kind of had to recheck today, and I think just keep going, like snap myself out of the crap and just keep going. Like, don't allow it to ruin the progress I've made.
Is everybody else getting chills like I am?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Megan,
Megan, huge.
It is huge. And it is, your subconscious isn't fighting you, it's your habits that are fighting you, right? And we get in that rut. And I wrote it down, my deception is trying to deceive me. I mean, you're right in the middle of deception. And that's what Rod Harrison's saying, celebrate, because you're about to change. You're about to evolve into this next level of person that you're wanting to be. And that's when he says, you've got to make sure that you're continuing to go to the gym. The days that you don't feel like going to the gym is the days that you've got to muster up that internal fortitude to get to the gym no matter what, because you're right on the cusp of creating that new concept of yourself that you're desiring. And he says it's like doing push-ups. You know, you get out of bed and you do push-ups every morning, but you're not somebody who's known for doing push-ups, but you want to be known for doing push-ups. So you have not been getting up every morning and doing push-ups. The first 4 days, it's really easy to get in there and do push-ups. But then deception starts to hit and you're like coming up with all these excuses as why you can't just roll out of bed onto the floor and do the push-ups. I mean, really, you can't just roll onto the floor and do the push-ups right now? I mean, you watch the excuses that somebody will come up with, and you'll come up with yourself just trying to do push-ups every morning. You will rationalize away falling right onto the floor and taking 2 minutes to do a push-ups, your push-ups. And so that's what you're going through right now. And you need to celebrate that, but also continue to do the things the actions that you'd set out to do. And then before you know it, now you're a person who does push-ups. Doesn't matter if you're sick. It doesn't matter if you're late for work. You're going to do push-ups before you go to work, even though you're already late, because you're a person who does push-ups. And so it's so key that you keep when you're in deception, your energy and your actions go low. And to get to that transformation side, you got to muster up the energy to get to the gym. And that's going to be, your actions are going to stay high. Your energy might be low, but you're forcing yourself to get to the gym. And maybe you don't work out as hard, but if you start to commit to work out as hard on that day you don't feel like it, you'll leave that gym feeling better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And it's when we give way to the deception that we get the cold sore, that we stop doing the things, right?
Yeah.
And we don't feel good about that,
Yeah.
right? Because we want expansion. We want growth.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. That's,
Thank you.
to me, that was probably the most powerful share on this, because you're right in the middle of the deception. And you were just transparent enough to show us how deception looks and feels.
Oh, I can feel it on my face. That's for sure. Anyway,
go,
thank you
Megan.
guys. Thank
Great
you.
job. And we believe in you. We believe in you. If anybody out there, we can see you guys. If you believe in her, raise your hand. If you know she can get through this deception, we are polling for you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
Yes. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Andy.
Hi. I had a gratitude shift this morning. So in the back of my mind, I have beat myself up, I guess, about having a slow start with Isogenics, even though this is something that I wanted to do as far as build a business and build an organization and grow into the leader that I want to be and expand myself into the world, that I'm so grateful that I've waited on God and God's perfect timing to develop me as a person who attracts the people that I actually do want to work with. Because had this started and I had started attracting people years ago, I would have attracted some really yucky people, because I was kind of a yucky person. And so I have such gratitude right now that the timing is perfect, and that I'm attracting the people that I do want to spend time with, and I do want to work with, and I do want to work for. And so I've just had a huge shift this morning. Just wanted to share.
Awesome. Thank you, Andy. And
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You're doing the do. You're doing it, and it's showing. I just want to go back to Megan real quick. Hey, Megan, I had a thought, and it was kind of what you started saying. I don't know how it triggered it, Andy, but don't look at the deception. Don't focus on the things. Do not focus on the things that you didn't do. The end of every healthy mind and body says what was great about today or yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So when you force yourself to get to the gym and you get to write out, I got to the gym today. You want to be focusing on those things, right? And the things you're grateful for. Do not look at the cold sore in the mirror and beat yourself up about it. The cold sore doesn't exist. Take on that new concept of yourself. What is the new me? How does that look at life? Right? Start developing that habit, and you'll catch yourself from, like when I say you need to do that. No, you choose to do this, right?
Yeah.
So you'll start catching yourself the more you play at that level.
Okay. Thank you.
And that state of gratitude, like Malcolm was talking about too, finding those things. Even if you have to, stretch yourself to really come up with something you're grateful for at the end of that healthy mind and body every day. But when you follow through with the actions, you did the push-ups when you didn't feel like it, that's a huge win. That's what I'm proud of today, right?
Okay. Thank you.
I think we have time for one more. Anybody?
Nothing teaches me more than dealing with yucky people, I'll tell you. and my attachment to that behavior is a mirror into my own character defects. And those are the people that probably grow me more than anyone else.
Yeah. Rod Harrison, it was Molly, I think, said in one of the videos, when you're in deception stage, our job is to get you back to the inception stage. Another little thought there. So when you're in deception, get back to the inception stage, because it gets your energy high and your actions high. Okay, anybody else before we pop off here?
I noticed that.
It's
Denise?
Go ahead,
yeah.
Denise.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to share something really quick. When I was doing Healthy Mind and Body yesterday afternoon, one of the things it asked, I think it was a day or so behind you guys, but it asked you to think about someone you wanted to hug that you haven't hugged for a long time or whatever. And we were going to go over to some friends for a Thanksgiving, a family Thanksgiving. They're really close friends of ours, so they include us in on that, which is really sweet. So I was thinking of my friend Cindy, a different Cindy, who came to mind. That's who we were going to see. And just thinking about that and being grateful for her, I just got all emotional because when I had my accident in January, she was the first person that John called. And we live in Coarsegold, and that's where the accident happened. And John couldn't go with me in the ambulance, so he knew that she would be able to get there before he would. And she did. I mean, he called her, and she dropped everything, and she showed up to the hospital and was there. She was one of the first faces I saw. And she is a medic, so they let her in, because she knows all the people at the trauma center. And so it was like, she came to mind just thinking about her and that situation. It was like, I'm so grateful for her. And when I did see her, I did hug her, and I told her how grateful I am for her and our friendship and how close we've become over. I mean, we've known each other, I think, only about 5 years, but it feels like we've known each other forever. So I know she would drop anything to do anything for me, and I would do the same for her. So really made me think of that and focus on it. And so,
yeah,
very grateful for this program.
I think Rod asks us to do those things so that we become familiar with those feelings, and we can proactively choose to bring those feelings into our lives by the actions we choose to take. Great job. Great share. And simple things too, you guys. They don't have to be these profound, dramatic experiences, right? Simple things. Were you going to say something, Denise?
No, I think I just muted back out.
Cindy, you're going to say something, and then we'll close it out. Cindy Talley, you're muted.
What did you ask?
You said you were going to say something. You said, I think, and then.
Oh, I was just thought that John Myers had his hand raised, but I think he's off. Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Let me try unmuting.
I don't think he's there anymore.
It says he's here, but it's not letting me unmute him. Maybe he hung up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys. Thanks for all the great shares.
Yes, I am here. I am here. My hand raised just to get up here. Thank you so much, guys. I'm here. Love
you're welcome.
All right, you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you back here next week. Have a great Thanksgiving, you guys. And on your Thanksgiving, I'm going to challenge you. You can say the things that you're grateful for from the past, but also have everybody share one thing that they're grateful for that's coming.
Ooh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, all right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
On the journey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll
God
post
bless
this
your
in the
family.
Facebook group. It'll be in there.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.